Back with more Haunting of Bly Manor. This is episode 5. Very excited to carry on. Yeah, I'm really loving the show so far. Last episode was also very good. We've got a lot of backstory with Danny, and kind of the trauma, the grief, the guilt that she's dealing with, and we kind of saw the origins of the vision of this guy, Edmund, that she was seeing, and all the backstory with them, which was cool. Some developments with her and Jamie as well, for sure, that I'm excited to see them potentially explore. We've got a bit more of an idea as well, I think, of exactly how much or how little the kids know about all like the goings on in the house, and they seem to be almost shielding the adults away from exactly what's going on there. And yeah, as always, everyone has their own little secrets going on that I'm sure will get explored further. But yeah, I'm just really excited to carry on and see what's going to happen next. So let's dive into the next one.
Like, you have a past, you have a future. Now, I'd argue you can count on both. Oh, sweet trunk man. What would I do in Paris?
Eat croissants and drink good wine.
And make out with him.
It's so nice to meet you.
Oh, it's their first meeting.
Right. This is my home. I take great pride in it. We need a cook who intends to stay on for a while.
Reach a transcendence. An infinitely abundant source. Or what have you.
Is that kind of like moments where Hannah's a bit like in her own little world?
Hello, Miles. Hannah, dear.
Oh.
Him and whoever she is there. It's just...
Oh.
Oh, my.
You're pretty when you blush.
Miles?
I think he's Peter.
Any of us could die at any moment.
Bent neck lady? What is going on here? Is she just like remembering lots of things differently, or is it like one of those moments where you think back on something and you're like, damn, I wish I'd said that.
I don't even know who that was. I'm just
Prick.
deeper than I thought.
Oh, crack again. Oh, here we go. Stealing shit.
Funny thing about cleaning the house for years, you know exactly where everything is. It'd be too much of a mess to notice what you're up to.
It's a mistake, isn't it? Thinking that they're your family.
Oh, fuck off.
This is your house.
That's why she's like so against you. She's so protective of the place. Oh, you're such a dick. Okay.
I'm looking at this as an opportunity to hone my skills. In Paris, I was a sous chef.
I'm scared this is kind of like a life flashing before her eyes kind of situation.
Haven't we already done this?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
but we have to do it again. Little boys can be very cruel. I should know. I was one.
Oh, Miles is a good boy.
So you said.
He is.
Is this like
He's a good boy, and he would never
Owen's
do
like,
anything
Hurt you.
Hannah, like, see what's going on here?
Whatever.
Is this like in her head?
to her. He was.
Miles already Queen.
What do you think you're doing?
No. Okay, so
What on earth has gotten into you?
he's in her head.
Oh, Hannah. Honestly.
Miles?
Oh, you're such a possessed little shit.
I lit it for you. I hope you don't mind.
Just the one.
Who's it for?
Well, that's the spirit, moving on and moving up. That's for Sam. He may not be dead, but nobody's perfect, are they?
Okay. So this is a conversation she's had before,
I'd have to sell my house.
but she's having like different versions of it in her own head
Lovely nesting.
when she's like
We would compensate you accordingly, of course.
in her own world
But Sam,
for some reason.
Well,
because Sam is gone.
because Sam is gone.
Gone doesn't mean dead.
I appreciate the
Just as dead doesn't mean gone.
Patricia. And what he did was, it was horrible, but yes, yes, it was.
It seems to be like
What?
she's trying to accept
Until, of
things.
course, I grew up and I wasn't
Like
anymore.
Owen's trying to make her accept that something's wrong with Miles.
Opinions, desires,
Charlotte's trying to make her
aspirations.
accept
Father
that
didn't much encourage
her
us.
husband's not coming back.
He scares me too, but in the best way. Being with him might be scary at times, but it's also exciting and fun, and for the first time in my
Like
life,
exciting and
that little voice in my
scary
head
are
saying
two
I'm not good
different
enough has
things, though.
disappeared. I've never felt so alive.
Rude.
You told me you never met anyone like him before, and you don't get to have it both ways.
Now she's kind of doing for Rebecca what
Rebecca,
Owen and Charlotte have been doing for her. Right. Is there a crack on that wall?
no, thank you. I'm not hungry.
No. Just want to upset Peter.
He chewed his own leg off to escape the trap.
Oh.
The poor thing bled to death. That man is a glue trap. And when Rebecca realizes that she won't come out whole, she'll think she's okay.
That's quite the metaphor.
Denial.
I'm looking at this as an opportunity to hone my
And she's denying things about Miles as well.
which means they only let me chop vegetables.
And her husband with the Charlotte stuff.
Does a mouse know when it's already over?
Jesus. These are some big questions to ask a mouse.
Have they ever had money or a family or love or safety?
So I steal them and possess them.
We're always going to be the help in their eyes, aren't we? And we both know that deep down.
He's so desperate to force that idea on people. He wants to like drag people down with him, doesn't he? So he feels better about himself.
This is one of my favorites. I haven't seen you in this one before, though.
Go back to bed.
Oh! What the fuck? I try hard to be sad, but I don't want to. There's his ghost, right?
Go back to bed. What's that?
It's the lady
Who killed you? Yes.
in the lake.
Oh, look. That's your corpse. How fun.
Let me go! Let me go!
Let me go!
You possessed him. It's been Peter all along. That is awful. Ugh, hate that. But how is she seeing this? She's been like let into someone else's memories. Ah! Oh shit, hello.
For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil.
She's dead, isn't she?
What dreams?
The woman in bed with him.
Oh my!
It's a woman I've not met before, have I?
Haven't you? Rebecca is 2 years away. Flora is 8. And Miles. Something is wrong with Miles.
Yeah. It's like a little recap before she like comes back again.
To be dragged off this fucking property. Away from this god awful trap. But I can't. Can I?
So all the ghosts can't leave Bly.
Honestly, Anna. She's even prettier than I imagined. The sun. Hi, Miles.
When we first met her, she's like, "Oh, I was away or something." Oh God.
Well, aren't you the gentleman?
So she died just before this. She's still just in that well. That's fucking horrible. You, sir, Need to get in the bin. That's why she doesn't eat and shit, 'cause she doesn't need to.
Taking care of Mum.
Oh my god.
That's what dementia is, isn't it? We can't count on the past.
No, because hers is all over the place. She's seeing everything.
Our memories.
Oh, he's relying on her to get him through losing his mum, and she's dead as well.
We could fade at any time.
I will go to Paris with you. Yes. Yes.
Alcohol you later.
Wait. No, I know the road.
Why are you the nicest person in this, Bly Manor? This is rude.
Owen!
Oh, she wants to go with you. Don't think she's accepted that she's dead yet, has she?
You're Hannah Grace. Hannah Grace. You're Hannah Grace.
Okay, damn. That was a hell of an episode. I really loved it. But god, that's sad. I feel like this one is very up to interpretation about what it could all mean in terms of like the symbolism behind, you know, the people that Hannah could see memories of, whose memories she could kind of infiltrate herself, in those moments, like when it was her and Owen doing his interview again and again and again, and her and Charlotte in the chapel. All of those kind of ones, you know, like the significance of those, what they all represented and stuff. There's a lot to unpack there. But yeah, I just feel so sad. that was really depressing. Just like episode 5 of Hill House, really, isn't it? It's like the truth behind someone who's actually dead. God, that really, man. I did like that we probably got some confirmation about what happened to Peter, how he died. He was killed by, you know, scary ghost lady. The fact that if you die in Bly Manor, it would seem you just can't leave the area. You know exactly why I guess Hannah was seeing that crack. It's the same crack, it wasn't just different ones, because that's what she was staring at in the well. But that makes me sad, because if she remembers what the crack looks like, that must have meant she was alive long enough to see it, so she didn't just die instantly, which is fucking horrible. But that's why she was seeing that. That's why she wasn't eating anything. That's why she kind of had those moments where she was just in her own little world, because she literally was going through all these different cycles and timelines and stuff. I need to get all that clear in my head, I think, everything with that. But also the fact that Peter does have the capability to possess Miles and take him over. You know, I don't know exactly like how and why he can do that, when he can do that, what circumstances allow him to do it. Because they did say, you know, most of the time it is Miles. But yeah, that's a hot mess. And can he do it to anyone else? Is it just Miles because he was just the one that he happened to touch in that first time it happened? Or, you know, can anyone do that? Could Hannah herself have the capability of doing that at some point? Yeah, I mean, it was good to get all those answers, and it, you know, it moves some things forward. And this was just a big character piece about Hannah, really, and what's going on with her, why she has been the way she has been. And it's just, when we first saw her, she'd literally just died as well. It just happened. If Danny had just like looked down the well when she got there, and they made a point of Danny walking the rest of the way, didn't they? She probably wouldn't have died if she just stayed in the car for the whole journey. And obviously that's not Danny's fault. But if they had just driven all the way there and Danny didn't want to walk the rest, you know, she'd have been called away before she was probably going to follow Miles and Peter. That's so sad. I hate it so much. And Owen as well. I mean, surely they're going to find out. That's just devastating. Just the thought of her just in that well on her own is awful to me. That makes me sick. God, Peter's such a dick. And we're seeing more and more just how much of a dick he is, and we got insight into the extent of his plans to like run away with Rebecca and everything, and it wasn't just like he abandoned her and left because he was so selfish. He was like, oh, I'm just going to keep all this to myself. Actually, he didn't actually like steal that money and run. It was that he died, so he couldn't come back for her. And I guess she just felt abandoned by that, and that caused Rebecca's downward spiral from there. Although the fact that she's like, this really traumatized ghost as well, and the fact that maybe that doesn't make any sense actually. Well, we know Hannah died in Bly, so she can't leave the estate. Same goes with Peter. Same goes with Rebecca, because we would assume that she drowned in the lake. It wasn't like she was killed somewhere else and then dumped in the lake, which could have happened, I suppose, but I don't think that is the case, because her ghost is round and about. So I think that's the case. And then we also saw Charlotte as well, who we know is dead, but they never brought her body back home. Maybe they never found it. I don't know if that's really clear exactly how that went down. But the fact that Hannah could enter one of Rebecca's memories is what's puzzling me. If Hannah was killed by Peter, does that mean maybe the link is that Rebecca was also killed by Peter, but he was already dead? Unless his ghost body could kill her, because Peter himself was killed by the ghost woman. So maybe that's the link, and that's why she could enter Rebecca's memories, because they link in that way. Maybe it's something else that we need to explore. That's the only thing that I can kind of think of right now, but I'm sure more's going to get revealed, because we've still got another 4 episodes yet. So I don't know about any of that really, but I've really enjoyed the puzzle behind it. He's trying to work things out. The fact that they don't really make it clear exactly like all the answers and stuff. Maybe we're going to see a bit more of it, but they do kind of leave it to yourself. They don't spoon feed you exactly what's going on. I quite like that, because it does allow for a much more open interpretation of things, I think. Because it just seemed like she was going through all these different loops, all these different timelines and stuff, and she had the job interview with Owen that she kept going back to, and I think that was just someone she was close to. Owen she's very close to, Charlotte she was close to, Rebecca she was close to, and I feel like she was just replaying all those moments, and maybe she was brought into Rebecca's dream and everything to like tell her something. She was trying to tell herself something, because obviously they're all in her own head. She just plays those moments again and again and again. I've just remembered what I was thinking about in the last episode, when was it Flora, during Flora's speech, when she was like, you could have been dead all along and nobody knew, and it did cut to Hannah, didn't it? I said like that was a weird cut, but it wasn't a weird cut. They're just bastards. People who make this show are bastards. Oh damn, that's so mean but so clever. But yeah, with Owen, he was like, it was Hannah trying to remind herself, I think, something's wrong with Miles, and maybe that's why sometimes she's just fine with things, because sometimes she goes through those loops and kind of denies sitting down and properly talk about things. She'll just walk out the room, go somewhere else, or come back to where she actually is in any one moment. So she doesn't do the bit like where she's reminding herself, my name's Hannah Gross, it's this year, something's wrong with Miles. If she doesn't go through all of that, I think when she comes back and snaps back to somewhere else, she kind of isn't aware of that, so she's just like, fine, like just doing my job and the kids are fine and everything. But then there are other moments where she does successfully go through that cycle, and Owen's telling her something's wrong with Miles, and then she's aware of that. And everything with Charlotte, we didn't really get to see Charlotte and Dominic that much themselves. We got a bit of Henry as well. We didn't really get to see them as proper characters, I feel like. And what we got with Charlotte was, I guess, how Hannah remembered her, or at least kept remembering her in different cycles. So that may not have been what she's actually like. We know she's pretty spot on with how Owen's like, apart from obviously when he kind of breaks out of that interview loop, because we know Owen anyway. We know what his character's like. But we don't really know Charlotte and Dominic. I don't think we're really supposed to, but so there's that as well. But it just has those moments where Charlotte was like, you know, your husband's not coming back, and that was a big deal for her, because that allowed her to then live in Bly all the time, which is kind of how she was when we first met her. But it's like all these people that she was close to and she knew trying to tell her something in her own head. So I think maybe it's her subconscious trying to make breaking the news easier to her, that I think, well, that she's dead. I don't think she's accepted that yet, but maybe if someone like Owen was telling her that, she would take the news better. I don't know if that's kind of how her head's working, but she still hasn't really grasped that yet. But it's easier for Owen to tell her, like, something's wrong with Miles, you know, you need to focus on this, because I think Owen's such kind of a comfort person for her that she's going to listen to that and she'll take that on board. And, you know, in a way, I think a lot of that, like, proper dialogue that we got with the interview, I think that is how Owen's job interview went. So we did kind of see their first meeting, which I thought was really lovely as well. And we got a bit of backstory with all of that. But it was just all these cycles of her being told all these things and just being all over the place, like, just going from back and forth. Like, I was very lost with it, but I also feel like I know what they were trying to do, and I get what they're trying to say. I think this is definitely one to watch again when I finish the show, and really see if I can probably piece things entirely together, like a proper, you know, version of events that we did get. I mean, you know, we only got one version of Peter dying and stuff, coming back, realizing that he's a ghost now and possessing Miles and stuff. So I think that's how that happened. And maybe the first time through we saw those conversations, like her talking to Owen in his interview, and she was talking to Charlotte about her husband. You know, I think maybe the core dialogue that we kept seeing again and again is actually what happened, and then the extra bits is like her subconscious being like, you need to listen to us, like, listen to yourself, you are dead, Miles is being possessed by the dickhead, things like that. And when she caught she caught Peter trying to steal the necklace and stuff, and she was like, I know your number, buddy. When she was, you know, overhearing Rebecca and Peter have that fight, and he was like, oh, I don't even remember that time I got pissed at you, when he obviously did. God, I hate that man so much. It's crazy. I mean, it just shows what great actors they are, isn't it? That I loved Luke so much in Hill House, and my God, you just want to throttle Peter. Like, what a really great actor. But yeah, I really loved what they kind of did with it. I'm fucking gutted that she's dead though, because Owen's just going to be distraught when he finds that out. So I'm sure they will. And they can't go to Paris. Well, he can, but she can't, because she can't leave Bly, and she's dead. But Peter was like saying that they're trapped there. I don't know why they can't leave Bly. Is that just a ghost thing? No, it can't be a ghost thing, because, well, maybe it can in this version of events. I was going to say, well, in Hill House, you know, they saw Nell all over the place, not just in the house, and that's where she died, so she would stay there. But, you know, they might just, ghosts operate differently in Bly Manor, because obviously those two aren't related really in any way, stretch or form, apart from that it's written and made by some of the same people. So maybe it's just different rules. And I mean, I think even in Hill House, Stephen says something like, ghosts can be anything. And we have seen that in this as well, because when Danny's been seeing Eddie, I don't think he's a ghost. He's just her guilt and her grief manifesting. So I don't think there's really any rules. So I'm guessing there is a proper reason that we're going to get as to why people can't leave. I don't know if the ghost woman that we've seen quite a bit of now that killed Peter, the effect of them not having a face is awful, like in the best way. That was really creepy. I don't know if that's like the OG ghosts of Bly, maybe. And like that's like why she seems like the scariest and most powerful. And like the other ghosts are like, keep an eye on her, and like she's fucking creepy, and that's coming from ghosts. So there's obviously going to be a lot to her. My guess would be that is Viola. But I'm also like, she dragged him into the lake, but she also seems to spend a lot of time in the house as well. but she seems to be like the big bad, if you will, outside of Peter in like terms of like ghostly shenanigans. Some of it is tied to her, exactly like what's going on with that. Like the lake thing is, I think, to do with her, but also then Rebecca was in the lake and she's been standing over the lake as a ghost before as well, and even we saw that in this one as well. So maybe Rebecca's just in the same vein as whoever that ghost in the white dressed lady is without the face. I don't know why she doesn't have a face. Is that something to do with how she died? So I guess, I mean, we have... What other ghosts do we have? I mean, there's Hannah. It's Peter, but they just look like themselves. Rebecca's had a few moments where she's looked very, very dead and like, oh, that's horrible. And then we had the woman who doesn't really have a face. Maybe underneath the plague mask doctor thing, maybe that person has no face either, or it's just a big ass bird that died in Bly and it isn't actually a plague doctor. I don't think that's the case, but so I guess it's just a wait and see situation in terms of the ghosts, isn't it? But I'm sure we'll get more, because slowly but surely answers are coming. I like that we got a decent amount of answers in this one. It's just a matter of what else is there to be revealed, and there's still plenty to go. But man, they just kept talking about like living your life and your past. You can't trust your past or your future, and all along Hannah's been dead since Danny arrived here. Man, just wish that Peter stayed non-corporeal in that moment where he couldn't grab the toy. Wish he hadn't learned that. I guess he was possessing Miles, so he is corporeal. But I hate that happened to Hannah of all people, because she's so lovely and she just spends all her time looking after others. And what she was saying about how the house is her home, and she's like so protective of it, and I think that's why she pressed against Peter so much. And obviously Peter, being the dick that he is, certainly didn't like that. So I think the earliest opportunity he had to kind of off Hannah there, he clearly took it. And he clearly has, I guess, some sort of plan. Because he was like, oh, if you hadn't followed us, everything was going so well. So I don't know if he has a scheme kind of cooking to try and get out of Bly, like escape things. I don't know if he just wants to fully possess Miles forever or what. Not sure. But yeah, this was just really great episode, and the actress who plays Hannah, phenomenal. I haven't seen her in a lot, I must admit. I've seen her in Doctor Who. She was in an episode of Doctor Who when Peter Capaldi was in it. I know she is a fan favourite to be the next Doctor, which I'm absolutely here for. But I think outside of that, I don't know if I've seen her in anything. I feel like I must have seen her in more. I've definitely seen her like about in things and stuff, but I don't know if I've watched anything else that she's been in except for Doctor Who and this. But yeah, that's so sad. And we've seen there's been stuff going on with her, like with the cracks and not eating and being like away in her own little world. Ever since we first saw her, little did we bloody know. But yeah, the fact that she's staring down at her own dead body when we first met her, oh, so awful. But yeah, I don't know what else to say really. I'm just a bit like, that was a lot. That was so sad. When she was like calling out to them at the end, she was like, oh wait, stop. And I think it was kind of one of those things at times where it was like, I can take advantage of the fact that I keep like reliving these little moments. I think she finds some comfort in some of them, and it's probably not a coincidence that she had like two circumstances that she kept going back to where it was her talking to Owen. It was like their first conversation that they'd had, and chronologically for us, their latest conversation that they'd had, that we'd seen. She's kind of looping between both of them, which I think is actually quite sweet and wholesome. But yeah, that she's just stuck in that. I don't know. It just makes me sad. The whole thing is just really awful, especially because Owen's just lost his mum. But yeah, I don't know what else to say really. I'm just depressed now. I mean, in a very good way, because that was brilliantly done. But I think this is something that's going to be like, oh yeah, that's really cool, like seeing how that all adds up and seeing all the hints along the way. They've probably made so many references to like her being dead, and like even in the episode, she like there was a moment she was like, whoa, and her head went right back, like she's broken her neck. And I think when the kids were running past her, she was like, oh, you're gonna break your skull or something, and she breaks her fucking skull. Rudeness. There's probably so many references like that that you're gonna watch it back now and be like, oh, that's so mean that they've done that. But yeah, that's just a lot. I feel like I'm just talking shit at this point, so I think I might as well wrap it up here. I feel like I had something else to say and I kind of talked so much I lost my point, but it happens. It's a stream of consciousness. I was in my own little world, I guess, much like Hannah was. But yeah, really great episode. I loved what they did with this one. So bloody sad. So well done though. So intricately kind of designed. I feel like it would be cool to kind of... I'd love for someone to like re-edit this in a way and like reshuffle the scenes so it's like it flows in a really like interesting way, like group some scenes together, because I'm sure there could be like a chronological flow to it all, which I would find quite interesting to watch it in that order. Maybe someone has, obviously I haven't checked or anything. But yeah, really interesting how it kind of keeps you along with this mystery, and you're like, why the fuck is she jumping to all these different places, and you have your theories as they go. And while you also get answers, I feel like there's still room for your own theories that you may have come up with during that time. Because, you know, why those specific moments that she's kind of chosen, or maybe hasn't chosen to, someone's chosen for her to keep reliving. Really interesting. But I'm excited to see them explore this. It's going to be bloody sad, but yeah. I just feel so awful for Hannah. That's so horrid. Like, such a horrendous way to go. And the fact that she's still just in that well. And, oh, God. I want to go, well, how about that? And I just did, I suppose. I was like, that's a bit harsh. But yeah, phenomenal episode. I loved how it was all done. I think it was very well acted. I got so excited when I realised it was going to be like a Hannah-centric one. I was like, oh yes, this is going to be good. And then turns out she's dead all along. So, rude. But, yeah, I really enjoyed everything they kind of had going on with it. The answers we were kind of getting about what happened to Peter, a bit more of his relationship with Rebecca, and like him planning to leave and stuff, how he died, the fact that he is possessing Miles, we got proper confirmation of that. What's been going on with Hannah as well. And yeah, the story just moves forward, I guess. And I think there's more to it, because she hasn't accepted that she's dead yet. There's that, you know, the bit with her and Owen, when Owen's like, it's not even Owen, but, you know, it's Owen in her mind. He's like, no, not yet, or something. You're not ready yet, or something like that. I think she hasn't really realised that she's also dead yet. So I'm sure I have that to look forward to. Thank you, Bly Manor. It's very kind of you. But yeah, really, really incredible episode. I look forward to seeing how things continue on further. For now, though, I'm going to go lie down and cry. But yeah, that's going to be everything. And until my next reaction, thanks for watching.